Hey, I'm Mike.
Hey, I'm Ethan.
I watched the first half of Blow Dry.
I watched the second half of Blow Dry.
And this is the other half. Oh boy, I did not want to see this movie.
She can't keep getting away with this.
I know.
Your wife recommends torture.
The worst.
And pain.
The worst. This wasn't even a movie she had seen. She saw it on fucking like Instagram Reels. She saw like 2 scenes and she was like, oh, this movie looks like such a blast. This looks like a big campy fun film. You guys are going to love it. It's going to be so bad and silly. And then she was in the room when I was watching my half of the movie, and even she was like, this is not what I was expecting. This is not what I was picturing.
Yeah.
She was very unimpressed.
I mean, the thing about Instagram
I'm like,
Reels,
look at the fucking reviews. Like, look at the reviews on every website.
But some places can like reevaluate like a cult classic or something and be like, there could be something here. But an Instagram Reel, right, is only maybe a minute or 2.
Maybe less, yeah.
And the actual movie's an hour and 30, so you got maybe 0.5% of a movie might be kind of fun,
maybe,
and then the rest of it you have to suffer through. So it's
like
a risk.
I think the thing that like made her interested is the cast. The
cast and the
Rickman.
Concept sounds interesting, right?
The concept sounds like I was imagining like not Dirty Dancing, Strictly Ballroom, right? I was imagining a very Strictly Ballroom style movie where it's like over the top and campy and crazy, and the shots are nuts, and like the premise is so silly.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was picturing, or something just over the top and fun, because the poster itself also has like a lady with her hair all blown out, and it's all like crazy, and she's got like a face where she's like, whoa, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be like some campy fun is what I'm kind of expecting. Over the top, ridiculous. And it's got like 2 moments, 2, 3, like a handful of moments that are kind of over the top, but it's so fucking serious the rest of the time.
Yeah, it's so sad.
It's sad and like such a. It feels like watching Dad. It feels like very sincere, but also very silly at the same time. Because the concept itself is like Dad or whatever. I love that we keep bringing up Dad whenever it's like, do you want to see like...
It's a movie we saw like so long ago.
But it is like such an encapsulation of a movie that is so dead serious.
Sincere.
It's so sappy and sincere that it comes across as goofy because it's like so ridiculous. And it's such a perfect encapsulation of that. But also the name is funny, like Dad. Come on, that's hilarious.
That's a great name.
But
it's also a movie probably no one has seen.
No, and no one's heard of, so we love referencing it.
Listen to our podcast where we discuss Dad.
Dad. Great one. But like it's the perfect encapsulation of a movie that is so serious. It's so it doesn't have time to poke fun of itself. And this movie, while like having ridiculous scenes, doesn't want to poke fun at itself ever, really. Like it's all so serious, even though like they're doing like a ridiculous hair competition where two rival salons are basically just trying to compete. I don't even know why. Like that was not really clear in my half. The relationships between the characters were also not quite clear in my half.
Oh, it's very clear in my half. I think that is a weakness of the premise of the podcast.
Yeah,
this is something we've discovered is like, if there's a lot of interpersonal drama in a movie that's all established in the first half of the movie, the person with the second half is just going to have a bad time.
You're
not
just
going to
picking
understand
up pieces.
what's going on.
And I'm,
exactly.
Even with that in mind, the fact that I'm not going to get every little bit of detail correct,
that's
still a lot missing from this movie in terms of like, I don't know. I feel like I should still feel something when a character reveals that they have a terminal illness.
Cancer?
Yeah. But I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? Why is everyone so mad but also confused? It's a very weird moment. That's one I'm really excited to get into.
Again, it's like on its face, it's like it's a movie about a hair competition, which is already crazy and over the top and silly, but it takes place in like a city, a village, whatever the fuck they call them over in Britain. Where it's like working class and it's like already so many questions. Why is it being thrown there? The owner of the city, the mayor, never explains why he wanted to do this in the first place. He's just like, put our city on the map. But it's like, well, what? Like, do you want it on the map? Clearly nobody here wants this. Like, why do you have an interest in this? Like, that's a problem.
Like, why do you want tourism? It's kind of a weird idea to be like, we want tourism at, what is it? It's called, oh my God, Keeley, I believe it's called.
something like that. Yeah. It's just like that's a weird thing, and then you have these two rival like people, one of which who lives here, which is like that's just a weird happy accident, I guess too. You know, the guy is like he now he's just a barber, but in the past he was really a hairstylist.
That's so funny.
That's
He didn't even like. That's funny. He didn't even like fully leave the industry. I didn't know that.
No,
because they're like,
yeah.
you need to cut. You need to cut again, is what they keep saying, and it's like, dude. Yeah. Now that I know he clearly has cut. Unless he's like a barber who's like, my main gimmick, I only use razors. I only cut with razors.
Yeah,
and that could work, sure, but like they don't establish that at all. It's so weird.
Then you have these like weird background characters. Like every background character is from a completely different movie. You have the brothers. Oh my gosh, what are they
called? Do feel. I didn't really think about that, but they feel. Yeah, you're right. They're all from like different movies. You have all these other subplots going on, right? Like
they all feel absurd.
The subplot between what's the character? Rachael Leigh Cook's character and
Brian.
Josh Hartnett's character.
Brian and Christina or something like that.
Brian and Christina, yeah. And I'm like. It felt like they were trying to go for like a because she is the Bill Neighy's daughter, right?
Yeah, she's Ray's daughter, who is in the competition, the hair competition. He's very competitive. He's cheating, actively cheating.
He wants to win this so bad, and then she's like got a kind of thing going on with Brian, who is the son of Alan Rickman and who's
Phil
and Sandra
and this Shelly.
Oh shit, Shelly. I got them mixed up because it was started with S. So I always like
that's
Shelly,
totally
Sandra,
fair.
Yeah. Shelly, yeah. It's the first mistake of the movie. Naming two women characters S. My cis het brain can't handle that. Come on, don't you know it's gonna blow dry my brain out. But yeah,
so like that whole thing's happening. It's very like starstruck lovers reuniting, that kind of bullshit. And then out of the blue, you got Shelly, who just is terminal cancer, and like this actor is like giving it like a full dramatic performance.
Yeah,
it's just like goddamn.
And like Phil, Alan Rickman's giving a full dramatic performance, being like, I'm so damaged.
Alan Rickman's completely.
And then you got fucking Bill Nighy over here being a little cartoon character, having a great time.
The Kilburn Cutters, the brothers, who and one of their wives, or the wife of one of them, Jasmine, who's like, "Oh, I want you to cut my pubic hair in the shape of a heart," and it's just like, what the fuck is going on here?
That explains a lot. Yeah, they're like
all this
literally
shit is happening
cartoons.
in one movie, and then Shelly's subplot is happening in a completely different movie, and it just like it comes in like a fucking sledgehammer every single time.
It tries to do that kind of British humor thing where it's like dark humor with like a little bit of heart in it, but it feels like it's really American. Like it falls over into kind of being just not silly enough. Make it more silly or commit to making it more serious. If it was more serious though, we wouldn't have watched this shit. Like, let's be honest. Come on.
I mean, they wouldn't have appeared on the
Instagram
reels. Yeah, exactly. When did this movie come out? Do you know?
2001.
2001. Okay, that's another great example. This is absolutely 2001 movie filmmaking. It's just
it feels like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this is clearly like produced before 9/11, and so everyone here is just like, oh, it doesn't matter, nothing matters.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I hate it. I fucking hated this every moment in this movie.
It was pretty bad. It was very boring. It was very hard to get through. It's definitely one of the ones where I'm looking at the clock being like, oh man, when's this going to end? Christina, why does she have an American accent when no one... Where's she from?
She lives with her mom. Ray is, I think, a bigamist. And so, he had Christina. She was young, and then her mom took her to America, and she's been living there for most of her life.
Sure.
And now... She's being brought back and wants to compete with her dad, basically.
Now does she want to be a model, or does she want to be a
she wants to cut hair. She wants to cut hair, but she's not good at it. She's not because she hasn't really trained really.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
On one of the days they were doing a thing where it's like, okay, Christina, I want you to color the model's hair, these like the fake model's hair. That's just your job now, is just to like color their hair, see what you do. And then the next day they woke up and the heads had melted, and I'm like, how did you even do that? Like,
I guess the heat. I don't know. That's wild.
I don't know. But yeah, so she's just not very good at it. But she really likes Brian, played by Josh Hartnett, who is an American
doing a British accent.
Oh Lord! And his haircut He looks like
Oh my
Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber.
Yes, I was gonna say he looks like a Dumb and Dumber character, and he's just
he looks like Dumb and Dumber.
But he's so much less interesting to look at. So he just kind of like walks up and is sad and is just like,
yeah.
hello,
like,
Christina. I'm so disappointed in you for doing this stuff, I guess. But also, I want to kiss you because you're pretty. You're pretty lady.
He's trying, because it's like he's clearly like a heartthrob in the movie. He's clearly like, you know, the one of the young lovers. Women need to watch this movie and go like, oh yeah, Josh Hartnett, I love him. He's so sexy.
He really oozes that in this.
He looks pathetic. He has the same like bowl haircut as like Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber, and he's doing the worst accent I've ever heard in my life. Like he can't speak over a mumble. Like it's
pretty bad.
Anytime he has to actually like emote, it's so awful. It's so awful.
I don't know how true this is, but on the Wikipedia or the IMDb page for Blow It Dry, Rachael Leigh Cook turned down the role of Rogue in X-Men 2000 to make this film because she had no interest in working in CGI. What a mistake.
Bad choice. Bad choice. That is a Will Smith turning down the role of Neo move right there.
Oh yeah.
That's something that's gonna keep you up all night.
Very, very true.
And I mean, and she's good in it. Like that's the thing is like, there's not really a bad actor in this movie. It's like I think the writing and direction is the absolute like worst thing here.
It's the pits.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, I mean, he's doing a bad accent, right? Josh
no, Josh Hartnett's doing that. But also, he was the one that cast. Like, why could you cast him in the first place? You know?
Yeah, I mean, true. But yeah, I mean, the cast is good. It's just none of it works. None of the jokes work. None of the vibes work. Nothing.
None at all.
You want to start getting into how this movie starts off?
Let me tell you, the movie opens with the hair competition. The British Hair Federation is what they refer to.
Ooh, sounds very ominous.
I know.
The British Hair Federation.
That's like one of the bad guys in Star Wars. You know?
Yeah.
It's Lord Vader. It's the British Hair Federation. They're coming for.
Quick! They're here to confiscate our scissors. Watch out!
So, movie opens with Bill Neighy, who's playing the character of Ray. He is competing. He's covered in like glitter, and he's like cutting this hair. Yeah. We also it's intercut with scenes of this guy Tony, who is the mayor of this like small town in London or whatever the fuck in England. And he announces that their town is going to be hosting the hairdress. Keeley. Their town is going to be hosting the hairdressing competition, and everyone is just like, why? Like, no one's enthused by this whatsoever. And also opens with a shot of Tony cutting his like nose hair, which I'm like, is this to imply that he's got some kind of like
Tony? Okay, so my
haircutting?
Thing about Tony is I think he has an obsession with Vegas because he keeps talking about that. Never comes into play in your half because he keeps talking about like
this.
He's like, this is the final day of the haircutting competition. He's like, this is just who needs Vegas? We have this, all the glitz and the glam, and then the very end, spoilers within the movie, I guess. But he lip syncs singing. I just can't help believing by Elvis throughout the entire credits. He lip syncs it,
which is a very Vegas like icon.
Exactly. So I don't really clearly that seems like a last minute addition or something.
Maybe that feels like something where like the actor ad-libbed it and the director's like, that's fucking hilarious. Let's keep that in the movie and let's have you lip sync an Elvis song. And I'm sure the actor playing Tony's like, well, what are we doing here?
Sure, I guess.
We see Brian, played by Josh Hartnett. He wants to enter the hair competition, but Tony says you can't do it because only like licensed hair cutters are allowed. But he is licensed, so I don't know. Like, I think Tony's just being a dick. Tony tries to convince Phil, who is Brian's dad, to compete, but Phil says that he's a barber. He is not interested. And at this point, we don't know anything. We don't know anything about Phil's backstory. We're just like, to me, I'm like, oh, Tony's just like offering, like, hey, it'd be cool if someone from our little town competed in this. Yeah. And understandably feels like I don't want to like lower myself, debase myself, embarrass myself. And I'm like, that's fine. But I mean, clearly your son seems interested. And then we're introduced to Shelly. Shelly is wished good luck by her girlfriend. At first, I didn't know if it was a girlfriend or if it was like her live-in roommate.
That's the thing. I did not know they had a relationship until like halfway through the movie, because she just kept appearing, and I was like, "Who is this lady?" She just keeps coming in it because she wants to be a model.
Yes,
and she keeps trying all these different outfits to try to become a model, and then she just suddenly gets really upset when they're like cancer, and she's like, "No one told me. You didn't even tell your girlfriend." I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. So what we learn eventually is that Shelly was married to Phil.
Yeah.
And then Phil and Shelly win the competition back when Brian was very young. And then Shelly ran off with, what's her name, Sheila?
Sandra.
Sandra. I don't think I ever wrote her name down.
She's a big spider.
So
that was the other thing I didn't mention. She's a big spider, and she spins a web, and she's got Sam on the back. You know, the whole 9 yards as a shield.
I don't understand this reference. This reference.
Okay, continue.
And so she left her family in order to pursue this girlfriend of hers. And obviously Phil is hurt by this, and it sounds like they're not on speaking terms whatsoever. Shelly is unable to speak to them. And so Shelly's wished good luck by her girlfriend. She goes to the doctor's office. And at this point, I was just like, we saw the glitz and glamour of, the hair competition. We see Tony cutting his nose hairs. And I'm like, I know this movie. I understand what's going on here. It's going to be a really goofy, fun movie.
It's going to pop off.
Maybe she's like, I was like, maybe Shelly's going to apply for a job, and that's why she needs some help. And then she goes to the doctor's office, and I'm like, oh, maybe she's pregnant. And
that's what I thought for a while.
Yeah, and then she says her doctor doesn't say anything, and then she says, let me guess, after 3 rounds of chemo, I still have cancer. And the doctor's like, yeah, and the doctor's like, yeah, I guess that's the way it is. And so
sucks to suck, man.
I don't know what to tell you.
That National Healthcare Service fucking sucks, man. The Hair Cutting Federation would never. The British Hair Cutting Federation, they would have given her a 4th round of chemo. They would have let her keep going. They never give up.
And at this point, I'm just like, oh, what the fuck is this all of a sudden? What an awful, horrible thing to throw at this poor woman, And it's, I don't know if she dies in the end. I kind of hope she doesn't. But it's boy, we're introduced to her being gay, first off. And then the very next thing we learn is she's dying of cancer.
Bear your gays, baby. Bear your gays.
Bear them gays. Bear them quickly. So she wants to talk to her son. She walks into Phil's barber institution. And she's like, I want to talk to Brian. And Phil does not allow her to talk to Brian, even though Brian is a full-grown man at this point.
He's an adult, yeah.
He can make his own goddamn decisions. Shelly lies to her. At this point, I didn't know if it was a girlfriend or roommate. I wrote roommate and says that she's cancer-free. Oh, they were roommates.
Oh, she says she's cancer-free. She lies right to her face. Damn.
She lies right to her face, yes. She might do some weird thing where she says everything's fine or something like that, and then but she's obviously lying. She's obviously lying to her. The competitors arrive at the hotel. We're introduced to the Kilburn Cutters, who are brothers. Robert Kilburn is married to model Jasmine, who is played by Heidi Klum. Yeah, exactly. And then Ray, who is, as I said before, Bill Neighy. It brought his daughter along, who was American and who's named Christina. We cut to Brian, who cuts dead people's hair. That's how he practices hair cutting. Is he goes to the morgue and he cuts their hair.
Brian does that. I mean, I never
Brian
really thought
does.
about that. That's kind of an interesting way to do that. If you're imagine that's your hair cutting job though, right? That's a funny concept. Is that you train? This movie's really fucking funny, Mike. I don't know if you knew this.
I can tell.
It's got me busted up. That's funny. It's a funny idea
concept.
though, being the one person to be like, "Hey man, I cut hair. Oh, cool. What's your clients? No, I only make sure they don't move. I need them to hold still.
Well.
Yeah. And if I clip them, they can just sew them back up. It's fine. They don't bleed very much.
Exactly.
I've got a pumping heart to pump the blood out.
That's a funny concept.
Yeah.
The scene is introduced with him cutting this guy's hair, and he's complaining about his mom and his dad and the whole situation with the hair cutting federation and all that stuff. And it's noticeable that whoever's hair he's cutting is not responding to him. And it's revealed that he's cutting a dead person's hair.
Sure. That's funny. And it's a funny concept.
It's very, very funny. And then he goes to pick up a new dead guy, a guy who just died, a new dead guy.
Oh yeah,
he goes to pick up a fresh one. At some other person's place. One of the guys is the dude
the dead people place. Yeah, sure.
No. From the actual house that the guy died in.
Fresh? He literally was
that's how fresh it is. He's showing up and
fuck
picking
the
him up.
paramedics. We need the haircut guy. We don't want to have anyone do an autopsy, a mortician. Fuck all that. We want to get his haircut looking sick because we're gonna have that open casket.
Yes.
Wild.
So I can't remember the fuck his name is.
This Keeley place is wild.
The guy from fucking Harry Potter, who's the dude with the cat. Him and some other motherfucker.
I don't know. I've rejected all memories from Harry Potter. I don't know.
Totally fair. Totally fair. Well, they live in this house together, and they also now have an available room there. So Ray and his daughter go to stay there because there was a mix-up at the hotel. They lost out on their room, so they need a place to stay. And it's at this moment where Ray sees Brian, and Christina sees Brian, and Brian sees Christina, and they start making googly eyes at each other. Because they at first I was just like, oh, this is like the first time they're seeing each other, eyes.
No,
met,
they're just the
they
first two
fall in
people
love.
like under 30 in this movie.
Yeah, honestly, kind of. The first two people with like good teeth in this movie. They're both played by Americans.
Yeah, exactly.
So Shelly cuts old people's hair, including Auntie May from Spider-Man.
Oh, okay. I thought she came in earlier. She randomly appeared. I'm like, oh my god, Auntie May jump scare.
Yeah, she's there, and apparently she's blind because she's so old. But
Rosemary Harris, which is probably the oldest name you could have.
Yes, but her hair, it is very. I'm Rosemary
Harris. Like if you saw a 12-year-old come up to you and be like, "My name is Rosemary Harris," you'd probably have to kill that person on site because they're probably an alien. That's like Men in Black shit.
Because they're a vampire. They're an alien.
Oh yeah, I forgot vampires could exist. Sorry, I was thinking of it live. I was like, aliens exist, but vampires?
Aliens obvious. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like they'd be old, but then like looking young, like how a vampire could,
or aliens.
Or a ghost. They could be a ghost, right?
I guess.
Anyway,
sure.
So she's cutting her hair, Rosemary's hair,
it is.
and she starts crying. And Auntie May can tell immediately because even though she's blind, she can feel the tears. And she's like, "You don't have long to live, honey. You got to sort your shit out before you die." She's basically like, back when my husband died, we didn't know what was coming, so we didn't get to say anything to each other about how he felt and all that stuff. But now that you know that your expiration date's coming up, you have the time to put all of your affairs in order. So there's that.
Fun.
So
Rip-roaring time.
So Tony tries to convince Shelly to compete. Tony? Who's Tony?
Tony's the guy who runs the competition.
Got it. So he tries to convince Shelly to compete, and he's like, "You should compete and try to convince Brian and Phil to compete with you." Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Oh, that'll never work." But then that's essentially the beginning of the movie. That's the first act is her trying to figure all that out. Okay. And this is where we learn the backstory. We learn that Phil and Ray and Brian and Christina and Shelly basically all knew each other back in the day. This is where we first learn about their origin story. Okay. I don't know how well Tony knew this in advance. It feels like he's really stirring the pot here, but that's what's happening.
Tony loves drama, dude. He's faced Las Vegas. Vegas has drama.
The more mysterious Tony is as a character, the more I like him. He feels like a Tom Bombadil character.
Yeah, he just appears.
And shit.
I thought you didn't know that reference.
What? So Ray is like talking to one of the dudes from the city, and he notices, he's like, "Your haircut." And he looks at the way it's cut. He looks at all the different parts of the haircut, and he's just like, "I know who cut this hair. Wow. It was Phil, wasn't it?" He can recognize Phil's haircuts even all these years later on a complete stranger. It's unmistakable, he says. So this is how he knows that.
I wonder how he could, if he had like a tell or anything, or it's just movie magic. Because I'm like, I don't know.
He mentions that there's a tell. He says like there's something with the nape of the neck, the way he cuts the hair. But I'm like, to me it looked uneven. So I'm like, that to me almost implies that like Phil's just not I was like, oh, Phil's like a right-handed like hair cutter, so he doesn't like he can't cut the other side. I don't know. He doesn't say this is. You
just do a bad. You just do a bad job, and it's like that's my signature move. Every time you do a beautiful portrait of like someone's kids or something, you got to draw a little dick butt in the bottom corner, and you're like, that's my signature move. What, you gonna be mad?
No, it's like
bad.
It's as people are like, I can't draw hands, so I just draw characters with their hands in their pockets all the time, so I can avoid it. So Shelly tries to convince. That's right. So Shelly tries to convince her girlfriend Sandra to join in the competition because she's like, "You're a model. I need a model. Could you please join the competition with me?" And she's like, "I'll do it, but I won't do it if your ex-husband also competes." And this is when it's revealed that Shelly, the whole movie at this point, has been wearing a wig because of the chemo.
Wait,
and it's
they're still in a relationship, right? Like,
yeah, but she knows about the chemo.
Oh, I guess you're right. She did say she's cancer free. That's the issue.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
only been like a day since the cancer cancer diagnosis has come in, basically. So like her hair would still be sort of like, growing in and
Sure.
stuff. But so she knows that she's bald, basically.
Yeah, they're
but this
trying
is
to
when
do
it's revealed to the audience.
Yeah, they're trying to do a thing where it's like, isn't it ironic that the person with no hair is cutting hair? Isn't that crazy?
And like that is definitely like a premise I could see in a movie. It just doesn't fit in this one. It feels
No.
like that's a totally different movie.
Yeah.
That you could cry during.
Yeah.
So she goes to talk to Phil and Brian, asks them to compete with her, and Phil is not interested because he's still burnt about her leaving their marriage and leaving Brian. Brian does seem interested, but Phil's like, all right, well, make your own decisions, leave if you want to leave. But it's that disappointed dad thing where it's like, he's basically like telling him not to do it, so he doesn't.
Okay.
Ray goes to talk to Phil. He sort of like walks into the barber shop and he basically rubs in his face that he's going to win this year. And he's like, I'm glad you're not competing because, every time you compete, you win. And, now it's my turn to win. And it's a very weird thing. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's obvious he already didn't have any interest, but, because Brian overhears this discussion between his dad and Phil and his dad and Ray, Brian now wants to compete. He's all in on competing now. Brian
What is really their real beef though? Like
who? Ray and Phil?
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I think it's more that Ray is like jealous of Phil's
talent,
abilities and talent.
Okay.
And Phil, I don't think there's any animosity necessarily. I think Phil is just like a bitter old man who doesn't want to do anything,
Okay.
His life has not been easy.
Really compelling rivalry.
Isn't this so funny? Isn't this the funniest concept you've ever heard? This is all, the backdrop is just a hair competition. It's so funny on its face. So anyway, Brian chats up Christina at the bar at the competition. Lewis, whom I not have brought up yet, Lewis is the right-hand man of Ray.
Yeah.
He is the worst haircuts. He's got the worst little like goatee. I don't know if you recognized him. He's like a pretty big character actor. He was in Paddington and stuff. Like he's a pretty well-known like British character actor.
I didn't really get a good look at him, to be honest.
Okay,
I'll have to take a look though. I'll look right now.
That's fair. So he sabotages the combs that are going to be used by
Bonneville. Yeah. Okay. He's in Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Downton Abbey.
Sure.
This guy. So he plays this guy. He's in Notting Hill, Monuments Men, Paddington films. Yeah, he's a pretty well known guy.
Yeah.
He plays the character of Lewis, which is a very gay man. Is all I can say. He's just like a gay.
See, he had so little screen time, I couldn't even tell.
Oh,
like,
really?
Barely in the movie for me. He just pops up and just like basically gives looks at Christina, and that's kind of it. And just like
in my half of the movie, all he does is just like it's like a totally different like world has just like entered the chat of the movie. He sabotages combs that are going to be used in the competition tomorrow. And he's just
okay.
Ray's
That's
like,
the whole
no.
Combs thing. Got it.
That's he's sabotaged them. I think he's like made them so that they're easily melted. I think under heat.
Sure.
That's the thing.
Pretty smart.
So yeah. So Shelly gives up on competing, but then Brian walks in and says that they should compete together. And I wrote down Brian looks like Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. So basically, Brian's like, I'm gonna compete, and I want you to join me. I want us to work together.
Come on,
here.
Mom.
Let's do it, baby. So Brian teaches Christina how to style and color hair on dead bodies. And so they're in like the morgue together, like coloring the dead body's hair. One of them is colored with red hair. This old man, the man that just died recently, his hair is getting colored. And then sparks just immediately start flying when you're in the morgue, So
it's a sexy place, It's very quiet, damp, smells kind of weird, That's
just
the place to get the
surrounded
hormones
by
going.
dead bodies.
Yeah.
So Christina, even though apparently she has a boyfriend, I don't know if this is gonna come into play.
Okay, I had no fucking clue, no idea. Whatever.
Apparently
okay.
she's got some kind of on-again, off-again boyfriend. They end up kissing, and the dead body's in between them, and the dead body makes like a noise. And it freaks Christina out, and she runs out of the morgue, and Brian like follows her out. And
Wait, so why to make
like,
a noise? It's just
because, well, she's like, he's alive, and Brian's like, no, you idiot. It's just that he's got air trapped in his like lungs and shit. It's fucking whatever. But basically what this means is now they're both locked out of the morgue and they can't get back in, and tomorrow is when the service is. And so Brian is in massive trouble because everyone knows that he's the only one with the key to get inside. He's left the key indoors and the door's locked behind him.
Key to the morgue? What's stupid?
He only has one key to the morgue. That doesn't mean that everyone only has one key.
Oh, you made it sound like only one key. Okay, got it. Yeah, okay. Sure.
He's the only other one that would have a key to the morgue, and everyone knows he cuts the hairs, basically. So like tomorrow when they show up for the burial service, they're going to see that the old man has crazy haircut, and they're going to like, obviously this is Brian's doing, Yeah. So anyway, Jasmine is cheating on her husband with the other brother, tells him to style her pubic hair. I don't know if this comes into play later.
Kinda. Not really.
All right. Again, this is one of the moments where I'm like, fucking who give, like, this is so like, obviously like, let's write this in because it's funny.
Yeah, but they spend so much time making the movie serious that I'm in the serious mode, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I want to see what happens to these characters. Not like I super care, but it's at least somewhat more compelling. Just like, here's a random bullshit thing that happens with these cartoon characters that aren't even really that funny.
It's literally like you're switching gears so hard you're getting like whiplash watching this movie. It's just like highly serious scene, highly romantic scene, highly goofy scene, and it's just like none of this feels like it exists in the
none of
same
it's cohesive.
World. None cohesive, exactly. So it's competition day. Brian shows up last minute for the ladies' timed blow dry. This is the competition that's happening today, and all the combs start melting. It looks like Ray's tactic is working perfectly. And then the family of the dead guy shows up, and they chase Brian. They break his fingers, so it's going to be very difficult for him to compete now.
Oh, okay. I guess that explains why I never see him cut any hair.
That's why, is because the family basically like hurt him to the point where he can no longer compete.
So it's just Shelly.
Phil screams at his son because he's just like, "What have you been doing with the dead bodies? It's fucking grotesque." But this is the thing, is like when I first saw him cutting the dead body's hair, I was like, this is kind of silly, but the whole movie's been kind of silly, like there's been silly moments. I'm willing to accept this. And then you have like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now. Who plays Phil? Alan Rickman. You have Alan Rickman running in and saying with the straightest face, "Is there something unwell with you, son? You are going into the morgue and cutting dead people's hair." And when he says that, it like sparked something in my brain where I'm like, that is kind of fucked up, isn't it? It is kind of absurd that we are just accepting the fact that he goes into the morgue and cuts dead people's hair. And like this was supposed to be like, well, and like the scene between him and Christina were supposed to be seen as like a meet cute, but then again, like you have this character, Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman has done comedy before. It's not like this is out of the world of him like doing a character that can be considered serious and funny. But like when he's like delivering these lines to Josh Hartnett, who cannot deliver the lines with an accent, it starts to become more aware of like how absurd it was that we just accepted this, that he would do this and it would be considered normal. So this happens, and then in order to stop all the fighting, Shelly is there, and so Shelly takes her wig off, and she reveals, for the first time ever, that she is dying of cancer. She reveals this to Phil and to Brian.
She doesn't just say like, "Oh, I'm bald."
No, they see the fact that she has no hair, and they instantly know. They instantly know, and they're like, "Why didn't you say anything to us?" And she's like, "Well, we're not on speaking terms, So
even like her own son.
Apparently, she's not been able to speak with him, which is absurd. It's been years. It's been like a decade.
It's been forever.
But they didn't know. And then she says this line, which to me I think perfectly encapsulates what is wrong with this movie. She says,
"Well, at least you won't be able to mess around with my hair when I'm dead, will you, love?"
Which is,
it's like funny, but not. I don't know. It's weird.
And that's exactly, I think, what's wrong with this movie. It's like, I understand that this is like a joke, but it's not a good joke, and it again lays bare like the fact that this movie is absurd, but not like consistently absurd.
Have you seen what's that movie, Death at a Funeral?
I've never seen. Is it? Yeah, no, I've never seen that.
So that movie's like a black comedy, a very British black comedy, where it's like very, like obviously it's about a funeral and like things that go wrong, and like it deals with emotional characters who are going through actually like being sad, but like those moments of kind of like sadness and remorse and reflecting are very small and not like a huge moment in that movie, and kind of like a release, right? Like,
right.
It feels like everyone's joking through a hard time through the whole movie, and you're laughing with them kind of uncomfortably, but I'm laughing with them because it's funny. And then kind of like when it gets to an emotional release, it feels like there is actually a legitimate emotional release that's happened, because like, oh, we're going to address like the elephant in the room, that this is kind of weird. This movie seems to like not, obviously doesn't do it well, but it seems that Death at a Funeral does it much better. But I think, which even like the name, like it's a funny idea, right? Like Death at a Funeral, like it's
straightforward.
Funny. It's straightforward.
Yeah.
But like this movie, on the other hand, like it doesn't really like match the tone properly and display its like funniness at the right time. So you're mostly just sitting here with like mostly depressing scenes that are supposed to be kind of funny, but they're more just sad because just everyone's like very serious about it, and there's not like a ridiculous. There should be a ridiculous premise going on, which is a ridiculous hair competition. Yeah. But that barely happens, and all the moments that are that is just like, it's just look at these other characters here that are funny. Not our main characters. Our main characters are not funny. They're just there to be sad.
Yeah.
You know?
It's really, it's almost like a tragedy or like a horror movie. You see all these very normal, grounded people surrounded by cartoon characters, like fucking mugging at the camera this entire time. And you're just like, take this seriously. This one is dying of cancer. You know? I totally agree. It's just not, it just doesn't work. So that is the end of my half. And at the end of my half, it is the end of round one. And at the end of round one, the placement of the teams are in third place are the Kilburn brothers.
Sure.
In second place is the Style Warriors. I don't know what their names are, but like the main guy in the Style Warriors is like cool black guy with like a cool like mustache and cool
he
hair.
seems cool.
I like him a lot. And then in number one, in the first place, is the cheater Ray.
Ray Robinson's
that is
Hair Studios wins is the first thing I see.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, look at Bill Neighy. He's so fancy and having a good time.
What an absurd character he's playing.
Yeah, what an absurd character he's playing. He's so happy. And then he goes and meets Alan Rickman's character, Phil, and sees that Rickman makes a comment like, hey, Detroit, 1982, the whole thing where the combs melted. Do you remember? I remember that happening.
So this is a tactic he knows.
So he knows it. And he's like, I don't live in the past, is what he retorts with. And he's like, interesting. I never forgot that. So then he's like, gets suspicion. I didn't really know what was going on, but now I piece it together what you said. Because I was just like, they're just going, they spy on basically the house that they're staying in, which is like the sheep farmer's house. They go and spy on where, by they, I mean Phil is going to go spy on Ray's, where he's staying. And you see he's doing other modes to cheat. What he's doing is like a shifty thing that I couldn't quite understand, but eventually it comes clear to me later on. But he is like basically he's cutting the hair beforehand for the men's competition, and then they're just gonna call him up and be like, it's done, which is weird. And they have what's her face dye it and cut it as well. Christina also helps, so she's complicit.
Oh, I see. So he's trying to help out.
She is, but Brian sees this. He sees this and is like, "Oh, my girl I put on a pedestal, who I kissed in the morgue." Or, yeah, they kissed, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they kissed in the morgue.
He's now like, "Oh, terrible." And then Alan Rickman just starts having this serious fucking conversation with Shelly, and it's just like she's like,
does that feel so fucking bizarre?
She's like, "Who cuts your hair?" And he's like, "No one cuts my hair. I cut the hair myself." I'm just like, she's like, I used to cut your hair. He's like, and we see how that turned out. And I'm like, what is going on? And then suddenly gunshots start happening, and they have to run away because the farmer's like, you're going to steal me sheep. You're going to steal me sheep. And they scares them off. They get in the car and run off. Yeah, they're being shot at with a gun, and they're just like, whatever. It never comes into play. I forgot it happened until it popped up in my notes because it's just so nonchalant.
This is another great encapsulation of like, there's a very serious moment between two human beings, and then a fucking cartoon guy runs in with a fucking like Elmer Fudd runs in with a gun, just like, yeah, are you gonna steal my sheep over here? Like, fuck off with this.
Exactly. So they're back at the hair studio, and they're talking to Brian about how he's got to do some stuff, but then someone appears dressed as Marilyn Monroe, and I find out it's Sandra, and she ain't happy because you know, I can't remember his name. Alan Rickman's his character's name. Phil. Phil is like, that's the oldest trick in the book. Everyone's gonna be Marilyn Monroe. It's not a cool showstopper because they're trying to set up. They're trying to set up a showstopper at the very end, right? Like this is supposed to be like the biggest, craziest thing, and she's trying to do like you have to do. It's not just hair; it's like a complete look, right? So it kind of extends beyond fashion or just kind of the hair. It turns into fashion at this point.
Right.
So yeah, she ain't happy about this. She feels upset, and Shelly's also like, "Why are you being so mean to her?" I'm like, "I don't know. Who is this lady?" So it's day 2, men's freestyle. Phil goes and like pickpockets the dude, and I recognize him because he was the guy getting his hair cut earlier. He pickpockets him, and it's like this. What's it called? Like a raffle ticket, basically, but it's like I don't know. It looks like a coaster. It's a raffle ticket, basically. So what happens is it's the men's freestyle. So they're going to send this predetermined dude to Ray's team member, who's another dude working on it. So they're gonna send them all pre-cut up and ready to go. I think it's Louis who's cutting the hair. So he gets up there and he like tries to. What he's gonna do is like put his hand in to grab a number and pull out like the one that was predetermined that they stole or whatever, but he can't find it because Alan Rickman stole it obviously and put it back in there.
Obviously.
So yeah, he goes in there and they get confused. They're like, what the hell? So he gets like a random like dude and does a decent job of cutting the hair. I mean, it's the bad guys who are getting it now, so you know it's fine.
Oh, that is true.
The cheaters are getting cheated.
The cheaters never prosper.
Exactly. And Brian does do actually now he starts doing a haircut. I don't know why I said he never did a haircut because I feel like I forgot. He did the haircut.
Well, it does seem weird that because like when I see him in the hallway, it's clear that we're supposed to believe that his like hand is hurt to the point where he can't like do anything, right? But clearly that's not the case.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's very confusing. And so so he gets this guy and it's kind of like a dude with long hair and a beard, and Brian's like, all right, sorry, dude, gotta cut your beard. And he starts cutting the beard. This is the only good shot in the movie is they cut the beard and it cuts to the sheep guy shearing sheep. And I thought that was a fun transition. And good. Christina shows up to the sheep guy and is like, hey, man, what's going on? And he's like, people keep stealing my sheep. And she's like, I think I have a way to fix this. And then Brian gave the haircut to that guy with the beard that I was telling you with the long hair. He kind of had long hair like me, like longer. He made him look like Ricky from Trailer Park Boys, like the exact haircut with a little goatee and everything. And I'm like, damn.
Oh my God.
2001
Did it look
fashion.
good?
I mean, it looked exactly like Ricky from Trailer Park Boys.
So it looked great.
So it looked fantastic. Yeah. So they did pretty good. They got a decent score. They're not too far away from actually being able to win. They did a good job while the other team did not. Fourth place, actually, I think the cut above is the other team is Phil's team.
Okay.
So I think they did poorly. They got like fourth place. I think there was like 6 teams competing or something. I don't know. There's a lot of teams. I think 6.
I don't know how
it cuts down to 6 in the final look.
I don't know how like the whole like thing works of like you were no longer part of the competition. I'm assuming there's some kind of like you're kicked out.
Yeah, you like get a load of point, you get cut out. I think. Anyway, Phil meets Christina. He just walks up to her. I don't know. Like it seems like the same area they get shot at with the sheep stuff. So I'm like, how is he allowed to go here? And he's like, oh, you didn't go to the city today? And she's like, no, I'm not allowed to leave at the farm unless I'm modeling. And I realized, oh, she's actually the model for her dad.
Yes, that's right.
So she
doesn't like it. She hates it because her dad is so like rough with hair.
Yeah, and he's very controlling too. And she's like, hey, look, I figured out how to do some dyes. And there's a bunch of sheep, and they all have multiple colors. And I'm like, doesn't that ruin the wool? Because they're like shearing the sheep for wool. I'm like, can you wash that dye out and be like, here's the wool? Or I don't know. I feel like you'd ruin all the wool at that point.
I don't know enough about wool.
I don't know enough about wool. I'm not a wool master.
We got to have a wool expert on this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Brian says, you did a good job on that Carrot Top guy last night, which was the redhead. They died, the guy with the haircut. And she's like, she's like, oh, yeah, it was my dad's idea. I didn't really want to do it. And he's like, he's all sad. He's like bummed out. And she's like, why are you so sad?
I thought I could trust you.
It's just hair. And he says, worth cheating a window, isn't it? And I was like, oh, damn, that's a good line.
I don't know what. Wait, what?
Oh, you couldn't understand my British accent?
I couldn't understand the accent. I'm sorry.
What
was the line?
Worth cheating to win, though, isn't it?
Oh, I think you said worth cheating a window, isn't it?
I think that was a pretty accurate
weird British thing to say.
Yeah, that does sound like a weird
the window.
Sounds like a great British colloquialism for sure.
Doesn't it just?
But I think that's a pretty good line. I was like, yeah, sure. If it's, it's like, who cares? It's cheating. But it's like, if you do cheat, like, obviously it matters, right? Like, the only people,
exactly.
Like, I know in academia, it's like the students who cheat are usually the ones who are, like, so worried about failing that they care the most about it, that they're the ones who try to cheat.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it means a great deal.
Jasmine's here. She has pink pubic hair randomly, and you see it, and there's a mullet man. He seems upset. And it's that's part of this.
That's a lot.
That's a movie that showed up. Part of the movie. And then
I realized that she's the one. Jasmine's the one that's on the poster.
Yes,
that's who it is. Yeah.
Well, they got a big name model up there.
That's true, and it's such a nothing character. So you're probably like, oh man, a Heidi Klum movie. Can't wait. And then she's barely in the movie.
She's in it like not a single bit.
Yeah,
but you see her pubic hair, I guess. Sure, some people be into that.
You see her pubic hair?
Yeah, it's pink. Covers everything.
Oh, you actually see it though.
Yeah, you see it.
Wow. See it all.
See it all. So then Sandra, oh God, she comes in again, dressed as a Japanese geisha.
Oh no.
Doing an accent, singing a song in an accent.
Oh no.
It's pretty bad. So I think we're gonna have to cancel our favorite lesbian.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cancel our favorite character, Sandra.
Sandra, yeah, you look around, our favorite character.
Yeah, what was our favorite character's name?
Luckily, Phil was like, "That ain't gonna win." And I'm
good.
Like,
yeah, it's not gonna win.
It's not gonna do anything. Reasons. And she's so upset. She's like, "I keep doing all this stuff." It's like, it's not a total look. You just look like something else. You got to be something new. You can't just do the same thing. You can't appropriate a culture. It doesn't say that, but basically it says that. And then
you can't be racist.
Yeah. So Shelly's like, okay, well, we'll figure something out. But then she's like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom real quick. She goes to the bathroom. She tries looking for some pills. Then she starts vomiting in the toilet. And then Sandra opens the door to the bathroom. She's like, Shelly, what's going on? She's like, I'm so sorry, love. And they're like, what? And she looks around, and everyone's like kind of looking sheepishly. And this is when she goes, you lied to me. And I'm like, what's happening? You lied to me. And they all know. They all know. Everyone except me. I'm only her bloody girlfriend. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I didn't know cancer. I didn't know she was sick. I just thought she maybe got like a little stomach bug or something. Second off, didn't know Sandra was her girlfriend, because I was like, wait, I thought she was like married to Phil for a while. And then, okay. So I'm piecing this all together.
Yeah.
And then she just starts yelling at everyone, screaming like everyone knows but her. And I'm like, why? Okay, so then she's her girlfriend. Why would she not tell her? And I was just so confused.
I was love because you don't even know what the secret is.
No, I don't. Either. I was like, is she Pregante? What's going on?
Yeah.
So then Sandra says, sickness. Get the fuck out. Yeah, so I thought it was, because I was like, oh, yeah, vomiting, sure. And she says, get the fuck out, everyone. Like, everyone has to leave, including the person they're trying to do the top look for, I believe. So she's like, they're like dyeing her hair or putting bleach in it, and she leaves, and she's like, and Alan Rickman's like, your hair's going to turn green if you leave bleach in too long. She's like, how long's too long? It's like, right about now. And she's like, I'm going to sue all of you. And she runs off. And then
Sandra's done dirty in this movie.
No, this isn't Sandra. This is another lady. This is a completely different lady. Oh, I don't know her name.
I thought it was Sandra.
No, Sandra. No, she's there yelling and is like, "You bloody said you were clear. You were clear." And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Shelly then goes to the hospital.
That's what she says. She says all clear is what she says.
Oh, okay, sure. I mean, that's
so she's straight up lies.
That's definitely lying. Shelly gets some emergency painkillers at the painkiller store. And then Daisy's there.
She went round to the shops, love.
Went up to the shop, no, the farmy. I don't know if they say that.
Farmy.
The farmy. That sounds like a British thing.
I've got a problem with Big Farmy.
Big Farmy. I got to go to the hair cutting federation, go to Big Farmy afterwards. Pick up a wee bit of painkiller.
I'm going to go round to the shops and then get my hair cut at the Barbie.
The Barbie, yeah. Put another haircut on the Barbie. Oh, we're getting it mixed up now.
There we go.
So then Daisy's there. She's saying some cryptic shit. I'm like, why is she being so cryptic? And she's like, don't worry, I'll come visit you tomorrow, Daisy. And Daisy's like, they always say I'll come tomorrow. That's what they all say, but they never do. And she's like, and you never know when the last tomorrow is. And then Shelly's like, I don't know how many tomorrows I have left either. You selfish old brat. And she's like, I like that fight. And then that's kind of the end of the scene. And I'm like, okay, sure. So it's round 3. They're doing a round it's titled Hair by Night. Okay, so the lady who's getting her hair dyed or bleached was for this. She was going to do Hair by Night, which is supposed to be a fancy, like, night on the town, Friday night, like, ladies' hair, very fancy.
But her hair is green.
Her hair's green, but she's gone anyway. She's not even working with them. So they need a model.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, damn. Shelly doesn't have a model anymore. We're fucked. They're like, we could have probably won this if we did okay, brought someone in. So what they did, instead, everyone's there. They're all waiting for their models, and they all get them all out there. And then Shelly brings in Daisy to get her hair done. This old lady comes in. Everyone claps because the old lady's there.
Everyone loves the old lady.
Everyone loves an old lady, and then they all get their haircuts. And her hair is pretty dope. It's cool. It's got like it's very regal, and it has a bunch of roses in it. And she gets a high score from it. She wins. That's top scoring with 91 points. So she's within range to win. She only needs like 3 more points or 4 more points to win, something like that, to win the next final round. So they're in the running.
They're doing it. They're gonna get it.
But they don't have
all because of Rosemary Harris.
Exactly. Who knew she had the best hair? All right, you can unsubscribe to this podcast. I understand. I'm glad you supported us through listening to 50 minutes of this podcast. But I understand if you need to
I understand
step out
you
forever,
don't want to do it anymore.
I totally get it. I totally get it.
Did you know she's still alive, Rosemary Harris?
Really? I just assumed she was dead.
She's 96 years old, still
Whoa.
kicking. Isn't that crazy?
Damn, good for her.
She's still going, man.
Is she acting still? Probably not anymore, right?
It says years active, still
96?
present.
What's the last movie she was in?
She was in where's the last movie she was in? She says that she's still active. Television, movies. She was in Search Party, which is actually a really good TV show.
Oh wow.
She was in Law and Order apparently.
Where was this?
This was a Search Party was in 2022.
Wow. So she's popping up, and I think it's wild that like when people in their 90s are just like, I'll do acting, whatever. I'm like, damn.
Why not? I
don't want to retire.
She must love it, right? She must
so.
enjoy it.
Yeah, good for her. I legitimately was thinking while during this podcast, I was like, I never saw her die.
I never saw her.
Well, like you'd
what,
see
in real life.
No, yeah. Mike, no one dies unless I actually see them. They could always pop up again.
Yeah, they're all just
unless I see the body. It's like TV show rules. Yeah,
all those people in the morgue from earlier in the movie, all actually dead. They got real dead people.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I was thinking, I was like, I never saw like an obit, because I'd be like, everyone would be like, Aunt May died, Like I would see so much shit on Twitter about Aunt May dying,
Yeah.
I thought about that. I never saw that. So yeah, that explains why she's still alive.
I don't know if we want to bring the house down here a little bit, or the mood down, but there is an actual actor in the movie who did pass away, like prematurely.
Is it Alan Rickman?
I guess you could consider him premature. I was gonna say the actor playing Shelly.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay.
She was married to Liam Neeson, and the two of them were out skiing, and then she smashed into a tree and passed away.
No.
I know.
That's terrible.
That's her. I know. Rough. Yeah. And it's rough because you see her in this movie, and she's not a very happy person in the movie.
Hey, but the whole movie also is all like, at least you know when you're gonna go. She didn't know.
She did not, sadly.
Anyway, bummer vibes. So if you're still subscribed, you keep listening, because we gotta let you know about.
We gotta let you know how blow dry ends, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure you're all on pins and needles.
Excited to see. Anyway. So they need a model for total look, and I think actually Ryan. Why the fuck? What the fuck is his name? Alan Rickman's character. Why did I cannot remember his name? Phil.
Brian? Oh,
Phil. Phil.
Alan Rickman's name is Phil. Yes.
Alan Rickman's name is Phil. But yeah, he's like, wow, we could actually do this. We can actually freaking win. Like, this
could freaking win, bro.
This could happen. And she's like, winning was never the point. I just want us to be a family.
Oh.
And I'm like, wait, so she wants to get back with Phil? Is that
no? She just wants to be in their lives again, man. I think that's what it is. I don't think she wants to get married to him again. I think she's. I mean, I guess she could be bi, but I don't think
she's trying to
wants
get a throuple, dude. I think she's trying to get a throuple, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, Shelly, Phil, and Brian.
Yeah.
Nice throuple. Going.
Not Brian. Brian's a kid. What the fuck? What the fuck, dude?
I don't know, man. I don't know what Shelly's in for.
Okay, so Brian is complaining. Well, I fucked the name up too. I put Brian is complaining to his son. So I was clearly Phil was complaining to his son, saying Shelly left with Sandra the night after, or it said night before the competition, but you said they won the competition, so they must have been that good. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he's all like, "It's all
Plot
fun and
hole.
games, isn't it?" And Brian's like, "I don't know. They don't seem to be having much fun because they seem to be arguing right now." He's like,
Yeah.
"Damn, you're right."
Damn, you're wise beyond your years, Brian.
Yep. So then Christina feels bad about like what Brian said to her and calling her like basically, you know, a loser cheater, and now she's like, fine, I will throw
Loser,
the game.
cheater, neener.
I will throw
never
the
prosper.
I'll throw the game for my dad. So she cuts off all her hair to like a pixie cut.
Whoa.
Yeah. And Dad comes in. Dad's pissed. He's so mad. He's like, "What have
Yeah.
you done?"
Spin med.
And then he's like, "See ya, Louis. Get me another
Yeah.
bottle." He's like, "Okay." So he goes and gets another model, I guess.
Easy.
But
Easy.
Brian comes and sees Christina now. And she's like, "Don't make fun of me. Don't make fun of my haircut." And he's like, "This is the best haircut I've ever seen."
She gave it to herself.
Beautiful." She gave it to herself. She did. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
that she couldn't cut hair. So I was just like, yeah, of course someone who cuts their hair is going to have a good haircut. What the fuck?
Also, someone who has the same haircut as the dude from Dumb and Dumber saying that is the best haircut I've ever seen. I don't feel like this is very high
The source
praise.
is sus. The source is sus. Oh, my God.
That's the best haircut I've ever seen. All my best haircuts happen with bowls on their heads. Yours looks amazing.
It's almost
babe.
as good as the Beatles. It's almost as good. So then they smooch, you know, but
Of
you know,
course.
they get
Not a
interrupted or
dead
whatever.
man in sight.
Not a dead man in sight. Nope. Just her dad's career is dead. That's the only thing that died.
That's right.
So Phil goes and talks to Sandra, who's in a bathtub out in the wilderness, like I don't know, on like a hill. Is this ever come to play? Like, is she like, I love my bathtub?
Never.
No,
I've never
okay.
heard of
She's
this
just
before.
weird. Sandra's kind of like a weird little lady. A weird lady. She's kind of a weird person. Yeah. So she goes and talks to her, and she's like, "Listen, Shelly needs you, Phil. She needs it. She needs you to be here." And I'm like, is she basically like, I'm not good enough in this relationship. I need you to get with her again. I don't know. And she's
I don't
like,
know what this movie's going
and
for
she's
now,
like,
yeah.
Phil's like, I don't know. Sure, she needs me, not you. Like, what's going on? And then she's like, maybe it's us. Maybe she needs us to put aside our differences and get together.
Thruple. You're
And she
right.
said,
Thruple.
exactly. So she's like,
Yeah.
he says, do you have that tattoo on your forehead still? She's like, oh yeah, I think it's still there. And I'm like, what? She has a whole tattoo
What?
apparently hidden on her head. She has it on the top of her head.
On her forehead?
I guess it's not her forehead specifically. It's like,
I was going to say, I've
It's,
seen
like,
her
hidden.
forehead. Okay.
they
What
say
is the
fore-
tattoo of?
You have to find out, Mike. You have to find out. They say look a little bit.
Oh, we don't know yet.
We don't know
Okay.
yet. She apologizes again
swastika.
for no. She's like Japanese
Yes, that's
appropriation
why she
too
was so
much.
readily happy.
But let me tell you, Nazism, it's in. Oh my God, no.
Sandra's got some weird shit going on.
yeah,
Man.
Sandra. You know what? If she had one, it wouldn't surprise me how weird she is.
Yeah.
So then,
Not because she's gay.
yeah, it's a very
That's
typical
not
stereotype.
why she's weird. It's
Nazi
a totally
lesbians.
normal thing.
Very,
Yeah,
very much a
exactly.
stereotype. I'm definitely leading into. Sure.
There's two big cliches when it comes to writing gay people in movies. You got to bury them. They
gotta be Nazis. Yeah.
Yeah.
And blow dry falls into both of those traps.
Yeah, exactly.
But she apologizes again. She says, "I'm so sorry. I didn't really mean to like ruin the relationship." And I'm like, okay, like you did though. So like, what the fuck?
I don't know what to do, man?
She's like, I fell in love with her. What am I supposed to do? And I'm like, sure, I guess, but that
Maybe wait till
still kind of sucks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe make it a little more amicable. I don't know. Anyway, it's the final
Yeah.
competition. The top 6 teams. It's the final look. The green hair. So what they do is they get the green hair lady from as the model that they're going to use before, and she
Right.
subs in for Christina for the other team, the
Right.
bad guys.
Right.
And and then Brian like throws rocks at his mom's window and is like, "Hey, Dad's cutting hair again." She's like, "What the fuck?" And then she goes to, because she wasn't going to compete, she was just giving up.
That's right. She's giving up completely.
And so yeah, he goes and they start cutting, and he gets kind of into it. Phil's there. He's there with Sandra.
He's filling it out.
Sandra's there, and he gets an electric razor, starts cutting her, like shaving her hair, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's time to do this, baby. He's like, it's time. So they start revealing the head tattoo, and it's a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on. It's the top 6 teams competing, and it's done. It's complete, and they start bringing the people out in like a kind of show. They have it's kind of like a drag race thing where they kind of like show off and come back and go back.
Sure.
In. Well, I think it's really cool. The black character who does literally nothing, and his model Ebony is Winter, and she has her hair like done all crazy big and stuff, and she like does like a little nod, and a bunch of sparkles fall down like Winter. It's very cool. I thought it was like, oh, that's actually like legitimately a cool one.
That's pretty cool.
And then the Curl Burn guy shows up, and his brother lights they had like a wedding thing on her hair. It's hard to describe, but basically it's like her hair is put up top and connected together and has like a little kind of like a wedding cake topper hanging between it. It's very fancy. But one, the other brother comes and burns it because I guess they're cheating. No. So they get a bad score because of that. So they're basically out of it.
Because her hair is burnt.
I thought it was sabotage from the bad guys, but I guess it was just internal turmoil.
Yeah, it was a civil war between the brother against brother, Yeah. You hate to see it.
So then the Ray comes out or I guess his model comes out, and they use the bad coloring dye to their advantage. And made Nefertiti. So they made basically, how like the mummies at their sarcophaguses got like the multicolored kind of hair, and they're pulled back. They do that, but with the lady, and she's got the bottom half of her boobs popping out.
Whoa!
And it honestly looks.
That's why Nefertiti.
Yeah, Nefertiti. So it looks kind of it looks kind of cool. So it gets some pretty good ratings. It gets 90 whole points.
Everyone's like boobs.
Everyone like
90 whole points.
But you know what's even better than that? Just being.
What's better than that?
Being naked. So Sandra is gonna pop out, and it's her turn to finally show, and she is a golden phoenix, and she has her kind of like arms crossed, and she comes out, and her hair is ridiculous. Like it is. It's so hard to describe, but basically he's cut her hair into like a circle that expands outward, and then as a bigger circle on top, almost like a crown on top of a crown. And it's ridiculous. And you can see her tattoo, and it's like this kind of like gorgeous filled in kind of like crown, I believe, like with the birds on it. It looked pretty cool. It's very cool, very unique.
Okay.
And she is like walks up with her arms crossed and opens it up. Drag race reveal is all I'm saying. And shows that she's completely naked underneath with a bunch of like gold and dust, and she's completely blue. So she has like a blue gold dust type of look, and with wings, and is very artsy and fantastic. It's all like one complete look, right? Like that's the thing. It's one complete look, and they went for it. They put their differences aside, and they went for a cohesive design that is not like anything you've seen before. And
not even something you can describe.
It's so hard to describe, dude. It's so hard to describe. Just look it up. Maybe I'll post a picture.
Guys, just watch this movie.
No, don't do that.
I feel like we can't probably post it, right? Because there's nudity in play here.
It's body paint.
It's
also
tasteful.
It's our website. We can post whatever we want on there. It's tasteful.
I thought you were going to say like an Instagram. I'm like, I don't think we can post it on Instagram.
You might be able to post it. Maybe not. I could flirt with that.
We'll only one way to find out, guys.
Only one way to find out, baby. You'll see if I get banned on Instagram. We'll see. So anyway, so they did a great job, and they got 94 points, which is just enough points to win. They are the British hair champions of 2000. Wow. Congratulations to them.
I'm so proud of them. They worked so hard for this.
Ray asks his daughter, Christina, do you want to lift back to London? She's like, no, I'm staying here. You suck. Also, by the way, there's one thing noticed that the Keighley is a very small town, and they're actually local, right? Like that's the difference. The Shelly is actually local salon nearby, while everyone else is like
Bill,
coming in to compete, which is an interesting note that the locals win.
That's what's the fucking guy's name? The guy that runs the play. Tony. Tony's like, we don't have anyone competing from here. Like that's what like his whole thing is like I want you to join because we don't have any anyone representing us, you know. So
sure. So that
sure,
whatever. I don't give a fuck.
Real interested, yeah.
Interesting. Look, man.
No, it's not. It doesn't matter. Who cares?
So then Sandra and Shelly make up. They say like, hey, I can't believe you didn't tell me this. It's like, it's fine. I did this for you because we do care about you. And they gave a little smooch. And then Sandra comes up and says, Phil, you did a great job. We did a great job. And then she smooches Phil.
Wow.
So then they all say, let's go back home, huh? And they all, with Christina and, Brian and Shelly.
Right.
And
but
Phil.
Ray is not going to be part of this, right?
No, Ray is not part of this. And they all go back home, and I'm like, that's the throuple, dude. They're doing the throuple.
That's right.
Thing. They're going home. They said go home. They're all going to the same home.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So then, and
you're really doing it.
Then the movie ends with the MC guy singing, Tony singing "I Can't Help Believin'" by Elvis over the credits, and that's the end of the movie.
That's so. The whole cancer thing, they're just gonna deal with that in the future. It's
She'll
not really
die.
anything.
She's got her family together, and that's what's important. She got what she wanted.
That's what's important.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a nothing of a movie.
It's a
I couldn't give
movie,
less
man.
of a shit.
Like,
yeah, that was fucking awful.
None of these the thing is none of these characters are really. It's weird because they're not written in a ridiculous way. They're just written in kind of a dull way. Like I don't care about any of these characters that much.
I agree.
I don't care
I
about.
Couldn't care less.
Like Shelly's plight. I'm like, whatever. Why do I care about you? You just you got cancer. That sucks, I guess. True.
Yeah.
But like that's not just having that diagnosis is not enough to make me care about a character, right? And I don't understand Phil's deal of him being upset. I get it kind of, but like he's also just kind of a grumpy old man. Like I don't really care about how good of a haircut person he is. And there's no even hype really to see him finally cut hair, which is the whole movie's building up to. And it does a pretty good job of revealing like a pretty cool hairstyle at the end.
Right.
But
yes.
There's no hype up to it. Like, were you curious about like what he would finally make at all on your half, or were you just like, whatever?
I was kind of hoping. I mean, I was hoping that like the whole family would get together at some point. But like, I guess I was sort of. But I knew it was going to happen. Like, I knew it was coming.
Of course it was.
So, yeah.
Maybe because you knew it was going to happen, it was less exciting. But
I just think like because the movie's so straightforward. Like we know we've seen this movie before.
Oh,
it's just like, but where again, like I don't. It's not like I don't like. Strictly Ballroom is not a masterpiece, but it's a fun fucking movie. That movie is so fucking fun to watch.
That movie also gets by on its editing and like its directing.
Yeah,
it's
the energy. There is no fucking energy in this movie. Everything is so slow. Like it's just like you've taken out all of like what is obviously there. Like there's so much fun that could be had in this movie.
Even the haircut scenes, which are quote unquote fun, don't feel as fun as they could be. They just kind of feel like montages that you can't really tell what's going on because they have to later on reveal what everything looks like. So it's like you can't even see the process.
I think it takes more time to make stuff like that. Like it's not easy to make something like a Baz Luhrmann movie. That motherfucker puts the camera everywhere. He's editing all around. It's nuts. Here it's like a medium shot, maybe a couple close-ups and a wide shot. And it's just like there's none of this like kinetic energy that you need from something like this to be, I think, the over the top like camp that I feel like people wanted from this movie. It's just
people
fucking
being
boring,
you and
dude.
me.
Yeah, well, and I think my wife saw the first half of the movie too, and she was not interested. She was very bored, and I don't think she's wrong in thinking that.
No.
I did learn something pretty cool though.
So
I was looking up like, is there any like trivia about this movie? Is there anything to know? Bill Neighy apparently became a big fan of Pokemon when he was making Detective Pikachu, and he says that his favorite Pokemon is Mew, and I think that's really cool.
Well, he was making Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, he was making Detective Pikachu, and he was like, I think Mew is my favorite Pokemon. And I think that's pretty cool that he has a favorite Pokemon. I didn't find anything good about this movie.
I will say one thing I thought that was kind of funny is that this movie apparently got delayed for its release because a movie called The Big Tease came out.
I saw that too with
Craig
Ferguson. What's his name? With Craig Ferguson, which looks like a much more fun movie.
Well, this movie looked like a much more fun movie too.
Drew Carey's in this movie.
Drew Carey's in this? All right.
Drew Carey as himself. David Hasselhoff is in the movie. I don't know. I don't know. This movie looks like a lot of fun.
So
We
weird.
should watch more haircutting movies.
Maybe.
But yeah, I don't know. Fuck this movie. It was bad. I was not having a good time at all.
Blow dry
I was
can
very
blow on
bored.
out of my life, blow out of my brain.
That's
Get
right.
out of here. It's on the podcast.
I will
feed.
forget that I saw this movie.
Absolutely same. There was nothing
Yeah.
interesting about it. Like the coolest thing was maybe seeing the final looks were kind of cool, but
Yeah.
like I don't know. You don't have to watch a movie for that. Just look them up on the internet. You know, look that clip up from the internet. You're good to go.
If it exists, who knows if it's even there, right?
Yeah, who knows? No one remembers this movie. I don't think. I haven't heard a single person talk about
this
it.
might be someone's favorite movie, but it's neither of ours.
Yeah.
Is this your favorite movie? Email us at email@theotherhalfpodcast.com and let us know. And if you want to reach out to us in other ways, we're also on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Threads, we're on Twitter, and we also have our own Discord, which you can find in the description of every podcast. And if you want to listen to any of our previous episodes, like Dad or Strictly Ballroom, you can find them on any podcatching app. And while you're there, please leave a 5-star rating and review. We will read it on the show no matter what it says, even if you threaten to cut our hair and also you have
bowl cut?
terminal cancer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What I will say one thing about this movie that I was surprised by is seeing a lesbian relationship in a movie that came out in 2000, and it wasn't like, I wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't like cliche or like stereotyped or anything. Like it was all just kinda like, this
I
is just a
agree.
normal relationship like everyone else, you know.
I totally agree with you.
Like
It
there
was-
weren't
it was-
any jokes about it. Like they could have. I felt like they were gonna make a whole bunch of jokes, but they would just act like it was the most natural thing. And honestly, that's probably the best part of the movie.
There were no jokes about their relationship whatsoever.
No.
It was taken very like honestly, and like even like Phil absolutely had it in him to be like a piece of shit about the whole thing. And no, it was just like, no, she just fell in love with someone else and she went about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
But like, there's nothing wrong with her. Like there was never a moment where Brian's like, "Oh, I can't believe you're married to, you're dating a girl or something." Nobody
Nothing
ever
like
treats
that.
them any
No.
differently.
No, it was. It
So
was,
I
it was
agree
very
with you.
straightforward. I thought that was
Yeah.
cool. That's probably the only
That's
good thing
true.
I could say about this movie.
If only it was in a better film,
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's just
Oh, well.
surprising to see not the F slur in a movie from the 2000s. That's a
From
comedy.
2001. That's very true. Yeah, well, anyway. Good night, everybody.
What a note to end on.
I know, right?